Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the 2023, 2024, 2025 forecast event. I am Jocelyn Starfeather, your host and the creator of this event, and I am thrilled today to be here with Daniel Scranton. Welcome, Daniel.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah, so wonderful to have you here. And I'm so glad that it's working out timing wise this time. As some of you may know, we were originally going to have Daniel here on day one. And now I told him he gets to be the grand finale for the event and help us to wrap everything up with a wonderful, beautiful energy here. So thank you for making it work in your schedule, Daniel.
Yes, I'm so glad I could.
Yes, me too. So let's go live on YouTube, and everybody who's joining live on Zoom now, please do put your name and location into the chat so we can welcome you in. I'm going to go live on YouTube while you all do that. And Daniel has a wonderful topic today that we're going to be talking about, which is we are choosing our individual and collective timelines. So I can't wait to dive into this. And let me just confirm that we are live on YouTube. There we are. Okay, great. So welcome everybody over on YouTube as well. Hello, hello. Please put your name and location into the comments on YouTube. And let's see who's on here on Zoom. We have welcome Nancy in Michigan. So glad you're enjoying the conference, Nancy. Welcome Constance in Pennsylvania. Lauren in Australia, yay. I'm so glad that this is a good timing for our Australia and New Zealand people. So welcome to you. Sharon in Chicago, Teresa in the Blue Ridge Mountains, wonderful. Els in Belgium, it must be really late for you, Els. Thanks for joining us. Welcome Gayatri in Colorado, Ruth in New York, Judith in California, Liz in Chicago, Dawn in Milwaukee, Michael in Idaho, Pauline in Montreal. Yay, welcome everybody, lots and lots of people. Els says it's 1 a.m. in Belgium. Wow, thanks for joining us. Welcome Noy in Australia, Goylaine in Quebec, Chandra in Nicaragua. Yay, so glad to have you all here. And so, Daniel, let me introduce you to everybody so that in case anybody's here that doesn't know you already. So Daniel Scranton is a verbal channel, spiritual teacher, and sound healer. He has been channeling the 12th dimensional non-physical collective known as the Creators since the fall of 2010. Since then, a wide array of other guides and collectives have spoken through him. Some of those include Archangel Michael, Archangel Gabriel, Kuan Yin, Yeshua, the Hathors, the Pleiadian High Council of Seven, and the Arcturian Council. He also discovered an ability to channel light languages and healing overtones, and he has used this ability to help others heal themselves and manifest the reality that they desire. Daniel works with individuals in one-on-one sessions, does group events, and teaches a variety of classes, including channeling classes. Daniel lives on the island of Maui with his lovely wife, Mary Chris, and their daughter, Thalea. I hope I said their names right. His daily
Close enough.
channelings can be found all over the internet, but you can always find the latest one at danielscranton.com and on his YouTube channel, where you can watch him channel each new transmission. And so your topic again today, Daniel, is we are choosing our individual and collective timelines. And I just want to say, Daniel, I often tune into your channeling, and I find it so expansive and so inspiring. So thank you for bringing that through for all of us.
You're very welcome. I love that I get to do it.
Yes, it looks like fun too. It really
I'm
does.
having fun. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
That's the
awesome.
most fun. The most fun I have is teaching channeling and doing the daily messages, and the rest of it kind of does feel like work.
Yes, all the emails are not quite as fun as that, right?
Right.
Yes, yeah, beautiful. Okay, wonderful. Well, so can you tell us to start out, because we're talking about the next 3 years here and the forecast event, right? And what can we expect? So can channeled beings help us to see the future? What can they actually predict?
Um, well, that's a great question, especially since there's a lot of people predicting a lot of things all the time. As you know, if you're
Sure.
in the new age now, you see the videos popping up all the time telling us what's going to happen. The interesting thing about predictions is that they can become self-fulfilling prophecies, of course, because we do all create our own reality, and we are all choosing between a number of timelines that are in front of us, and we choose with our vibration. Our vibration is determined by a number of factors, including what we believe in. So if somebody tells you, here's a doom and gloom forecast, lots of earthquakes, somebody messaged me the other day, the earthquakes are coming, you know, all the things that you can see that are doom and gloom oriented can put you in that vibration where then that becomes your reality. And people don't realize that because there are not nearly enough spiritual teachers out there, in my opinion, who are telling people, look, there's not one you, there's not one earth, and there's not one collective of humanity. So if you're looking around yourself and you're saying, oh my God, there's a war in Ukraine, and there's sex slavery over here, and there's all these things happening on this planet. How are we ever going to ascend? How we're ever going to get to the place where we need to go collectively? And the truth is that all that stuff is happening to illuminate something that you need to become aware of in you, whether it's judgment, resistance, fear, anger, hate, anything at all that comes up from you from becoming aware of these things. That's your job then. Your job is not to eliminate all of those things, and another thing you'll see predicted all the time are about the mass arrests that are going to happen. It's not about scooping up all the bad guys and putting them in the bad place so we can all live on a earth of paradise. It's about what is happening inside of you as a result of these things, the victim consciousness that comes up, the lack of compassion for those who are doing the bad things, because ultimately we do need to see them as a part of us and a part of our family that we're here to heal, that we're here to elevate the consciousness of through our love and our forgiveness and our compassion. And we can only do that when we acknowledge, if it's out there, it's in here. And from in here, I can do everything. I can process my emotions. I can choose better feeling thoughts. I can adopt new belief systems. I can forgive. I can show compassion, and ultimately become what I'm here to become, which is unconditional love, which doesn't mean I love war and sex slavery. It means I am love regardless of whether those things are happening or not. But the reason we come here, the reason we incarnate in a place where these things are happening, is to give ourselves the opportunity to choose what we are. And we are in that moment choosing whether we are love in the face of that, or whether we're fear, judgment, hate, all those other darker things that just keep us on a darker path and keep those things stuck in our reality, because now we're stuck on the timeline where all we're thinking about is the cabal and what the cabal is doing now. And so that sort of thing, where people are thinking this is just the way it is, this is the one reality, and there's one future for this one reality, that keeps us in a box that's actually very disempowering. It's actually as disempowering to me to look at, if I were one of the people who was looking at all these YouTube videos where they're saying all these things, it would be the same as watching the evening news. And all the people who are making those videos will tell you, the evening news, oh no, they're lying and they're manipulating and they're spreading fear to get you to watch. You know, there's that classic line of, you know, like on The Simpsons or something, where it's like, there's an ingredient in your food that will kill you. We'll tell you about it at 11, you know. Well, I better tune in at 11, you know, find out what it is. So that's basically what we're doing in the new age now. We're copying that model and telling people that, you know, you better watch my YouTube channel because I'll tell you about the secret war that's going on between the Pleiadians and the reptilians. And that's not what this is about. That's not what we're here to uncovers who the real bad ones are and who the clones are and who, and who's secretly in the cabal. We're here to be love. And of course we're in the information age, so we can't escape the fact that there are all these really gnarly things happening all over the world. We can't just bury our heads in the sand, but we can decide how we are in response to them. And that puts us, because we're saying, oh, okay, that's some of what I don't want. See if I'm reacting the same way now to it as I did the last time I heard it. And if I did, or if I'm even more angry, then obviously I haven't done any work on myself. I
Yeah.
haven't changed. I haven't used this piece of information to become a better version of myself. And that's what we need to do if we want to find ourselves on a better personal and collective timeline towards the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it is incredible how many YouTube channels there are right now that are doomsday and like telling you how many months of toilet paper to stock up with,
Oh yeah, exactly. I mean,
Like,
aren't
this
the
is
food
not the right
shortages just
energy.
horrendous right now that we were told are going to happen? Like
Yeah.
it's not that bad. Maybe they're out of something at the grocery store and you buy something else. I mean,
Yeah.
come on.
Right. Different brand of peanut butter, it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it sounds like from what you're saying, we really all have a responsibility to to focus ourselves in a positive direction. And by doing so, we do create our future.
Yes, we create first of all, we create ourselves and we create our experience of our now moment. So you have two primary creations always that you are wholly responsible for, that you can do something about. You can do something about yourself and your experience of reality. Now, from that now moment, because of course, in the New Age, there are enough people, I think, talking about the fact that time is all simultaneous. There isn't a real past and a future. It's all happening now. But from the now, Seth, my favorite teacher of all time, channeled by Jane Roberts, Seth's big one liner was, the present is the point of power. So you can only do anything about anything from the present. It's where you are offering a vibration from. So in the present moment, if you're offering a vibration of peace and love, well, that's vibrating out in all directions, 360 degrees. And guess what? You're going to see more love and peace in your field now, in your home, in your community, in your world. But again, when there's something that isn't that comes up, does that knock you out of peace and love? Does it get you to falter from that higher vibration? Because from that higher vibration, now people might say, well, you got to care. Yeah, of course you care, but you don't have to lower your vibration to do something about it. In fact, you can only be of service when you're in a higher vibration. Once you lower your vibration down to get in the muck and the mire, then you're stuck in the muck and the mire and you're not good to anybody else. Abraham uses the analogy. I used to be a huge Abraham person. I went to so many workshops. Their analogy is, look, if you're hiking with someone and it's a narrow trail on the side of a mountain and like there's a ledge off, to your left as you're hiking alongside, do you want the person you're with to be stable or unstable? And if you're feeling unstable, you want that person to feel very stable and very sure footed so that when you need it, they're holding your hand, they're calmly telling you just keep taking the next step or whatever they're telling you to get you to survive that hike. So we need people who just say, you know what, I want to stay in a high vibration and I'm not ignoring these problems. I'm not pretending these problems of the world don't exist. I want to be the solution to them, though. I don't want to be joining your line of picketers and shaking my fist while holding my sign outside of a Hollywood studio or a nuclear power plant or wherever they're doing it today, you know?
Yeah.
Because it's not, it's like Mother Teresa was asked, will you join our protest march against the war, the Vietnam War? And she said, no, I will join any march that you have for peace, but I won't join anything that's against something. And so we don't get less of what we want by being against it, we get more of it.
Yeah. Yes. Can you also share with us this concept of timelines?
Yes,
And, we
it's
hear about
very
being able to
confusing.
jump from one timeline to another. What does this all mean?
Okay, think of a timeline as, so we're all in this present now moment together. So we're all on the same timeline.
Mhm.
But depending on how we're vibrating in this moment, we might be heading for a timeline that's going to be going in a slightly different direction than someone else in this group of people that we are right now. And those timelines are just logical series of now moments strung together by a cause and effect and vibrational type of relationship. That's all it is. It's like your future has to make sense in relationship to your now, or else you're somehow disobeying the laws of the universe, because the laws of the universe say how you're vibrating now determines what you experience next and next and next and next along that timeline. So if you want to, people talk about the Mandela effect now a lot. The Mandela effect is what occurs when a person is aware that they jumped from one timeline to another because one of the aspects of the past of that timeline is noticeably different to them from the past they remember, but it's just that they were on a different timeline when that was the past for that timeline. So even
Interesting.
if we were to have a conversation right now about the past, what really happened at the Easter and Good Friday, and did he really do that? You ask different channeled entities, they'll give you different answers, and all those pasts exist. I mean, my favorite of all time is Seth, like I said before, I think. And Seth says it didn't happen, but we've created it now because we all believed, enough people believed it happened, like they say in the Bible.
Mhm.
So now it did happen.
So,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
So we're creating the past and the future from the now. So for us to get into arguments about what happened in the past is silly, because it's like, which past
Yeah.
are you talking about? You know?
Yeah, and I think this idea of timelines is really helpful when we're, dealing with a lot of things falling away from our lives, like old relationships, for example. I know I went through a time when it was just like everybody was like falling away, and
Yeah.
then this whole new community came in. And it's just so interesting because it's like, yeah, that was a very palpable timeline shift where I moved my energy, to be in alignment with this completely different group of people, and the other people I just couldn't even like talk to them anymore. It just didn't make any sense anymore.
Do you
And
still have dreams with those people in them?
oh, that's a
Because
good
I
question.
do. I have dreams with people from my
Some
past in them.
sometimes,
Yeah.
sometimes. Yeah, yeah, I think I do.
There was an interesting, I forget what movie or show it was, but they were basically saying all those dreams are those other timelines.
Oh,
That
fascinating.
you're tapping into these other timelines
Wow.
and becoming aware of what that version of you is doing.
Hmm.
So people talk about different universes, right? Like we're aware that there's different universes. A timeline is like a smaller version of an alternate universe. An alternate universe is a much bigger change than an alternate timeline. So I don't think that unless you really made a decision to do so, you would be jumping to a different universe from this one. But I do think we shift to different timelines all the time.
Right. Very interesting. I think this summer some of us jumped to a different universe. That Uranus Mars North Node conjunction, that was just completely earth shaking. But yeah, interesting to think about maybe some points in history when that could have happened, that we may have jumped to a different universe.
Yeah, yeah. And then there's like the idea that certain people came in to this universe from other universes to help during the time of the Orion Wars because the Orion Wars were such a low point for this universe. I've heard that talked about too, that we needed to get back to a balance point of 50% positive, 50% negative. So all these souls came in and
Oh,
started
interesting.
raising the vibration. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, maybe that's happening now too,
Mm,
perhaps.
yeah.
Well, would you be willing to do some channeling for us today?
Yes,
Okay,
absolutely.
fantastic. And is it okay if people ask questions in the chat and I can read the
Uh-huh.
question?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I want people to know too that when I do this thing I'm about to do in the beginning, this is not so I can channel the Arcturians. Everything you're about to hear is the Arcturians. It's them and the way they like to make what's it called, not an entrance, this is how they are bringing themselves through to set the tone of the vibration that we all are going to be in now. Not just me, but every single person who's watching and listening is going to enter this vibration because of these tones and sounds. It's not just for me because I've been doing this for 12 years now. It's pretty easy for me to just say, okay, I'm going to channel, and then I'm channeling, but this is just the way that it's happening in those initial few minutes, the channeling of it, and all the movements too. So
Okay.
without further ado, Well, the Arcturian Council. Well, pleased. Will is 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 we are in agreement with all that has been said thus far. We know that the ideas presented here thus far have been new to some of you and very old ideas to the rest of you. We also want you to know that there are some things that we can predict because they are absolutely going to happen and they are absolutely happening. You are returning home to source. This is happening for every being throughout the universe. This is a universal ascension in consciousness, which means it is happening not only in your reality on your earth, it is happening in all realities, on all earths, on all timelines, and even in all universes. No one is going to be left behind. You are shifting to the fifth dimension from where you are, or fourth density, depending on how you break this universe down. It is happening. You are doing it. You will make it. Before you make it to the fifth dimensional realm of consciousness, you will have full and open extraterrestrial contact. You will have what some people call first contact, but it really won't be first contact because it won't be the first time that humanity has been visited by ETs who have just landed their ships in broad daylight and made themselves known. That is the next step for you and could happen in 2023, 2024, or 2025, depending on you and what you choose for yourself as an individual, how much more work you need to do before you experience ETs landing their ships all across the planet simultaneously and making themselves known to everyone. You're choosing how long it takes right now for you to have that experience with a version of a human collective that will be aligned with you and your desires and your vibrations. So ask yourself right now the question of, am I prepared for this? Not do I want it to happen, because you might want it to happen because you think the ETs will come. We won't need to work anymore because we'll all have replicators. They'll clean up the oceans, the air, the soil, the food supply. They'll take care of all of our broken systems and everyone will have a med bed in their home. Now, if that's your reasoning for wanting the ETs to come, then you're wanting a savior. You're wanting beings to come and make everything better rather than you doing it yourselves which is the longer, slower way of going about shifting consciousness. But it is very possible. You already see humans working on creating new educational systems, creating technology that will clean up the oceans. You see people who are starting new businesses that are more eco-friendly, that have a desire to put out a product that will help people to heal rather than keep people sick. So you're seeing the changes already, and you do need to focus on those in order to move with that flow of energy and move to a timeline where you're going to see more and more of those practices. You also want to ask yourself the question of, what am I trying to escape from? Or what do I want to avoid? Because those questions might be the reasons why you want to have ETs come and you want to ascend to the fifth dimension. And those will be the opportunities that you've presented to yourselves to grow from, whatever the conditions are, whatever the people are in your lives, or the people in the governments or wherever they are, the billionaires and all the people that get a lot of attention, that take a lot of attention off of the self and what the person can do to help raise the level of consciousness there on earth, because you absolutely can do it, and you are doing it, and we see evidence of it all the time, and we give you those reports. We give you the progress reports that tell you, yes, you're doing it, you're moving forward. There's been a recent spike in your overall collective consciousness vibration. So we see it happening. We give you the positive so that you will focus on it and you will continue to grow from the positive. It's not just the negative that you grow from, you also grow from acknowledging how far you've come already and how well you're doing as individuals and as a collective, as you look for the evidence that humans do want to help one another. They do want to get along with one another and to live harmoniously on Earth as one giant human race, one giant community. And so keep focusing on that, and you'll become a part of a bigger community called the Galactic Community. You'll be welcomed in as new members of the Galactic Community officially. And then you'll be able to meet them as equals and not as those who are reaching up for assistance with everything that is wrong there on Earth, because there's plenty that is right that is also happening on Earth. Very good. We are ready now for the questions. Something has happened to the sound. We cannot hear. And this has happened before with live Zoom. Something about our energy affecting the transmission, affecting the electronics to the point where the sound gets knocked out. And Daniel had the thought of bringing that up at the very beginning to Jocelyn, but he didn't follow that guidance that he was getting, that this might happen, that we might lose sound on her end. And unfortunately, we have. And so we hope you got what you needed from that message, and we will say goodbye for now, and perhaps they can work out the sound issue between the two of them. Very good. We are the Arcturian Council, and we have enjoyed connecting with you. Oh my gosh, that has happened twice before with someone where I did one of these telesummit type things, and as soon as I channeled, the sound of the host went out. So I don't know how to fix it. I have no idea. Let me check my settings over here. Select a speaker. Let me try this one. Say something now. Still nothing. Okay. Switch to phone audio. I don't know if that'll work. Same as system. Let me try that one. Nope, I still don't hear you. That works. Yeah, I'm hearing when I do a test.
You can hear me now.
Oh yeah, there you are. No, there you are. Let me plug this back in.
Full time. That's so interesting. I know the technology is very sensitive to energies. Weird things happen.
It does, yeah. And I talked to a guy on Maui who does didgeridoo sound healing, and he said the same thing happens to him with the sound, and it's probably the sounds that come through with at the beginning that do it. So that's probably the moment when we lose your audio.
Yeah, it
But
is.
what, and I don't know how we just got it back either.
Wow. Well, it's all that it be, I suppose.
Do you want are there questions that maybe you can ask me
Yeah,
from the chat? And I'll do my best to get the answers.
it might be questions you've been asked before and you can remember what they
Yeah.
say.
Oh yeah, for sure. I've been asked just about everything while channeling.
One here from Melinda. She says, I spent many lifetimes on Orion and participated in the Orion Wars. I now experience reactions from my lifetimes in the Roman armies. I am aware and doing my best to release trauma and keep my vibration high and out of fight and flight. Any suggestions?
Well, you're definitely someone who shouldn't be paying any attention to wars now, because one thing that you can always do is, well, there's a number of things you can do. First of all, you can process those emotions that come up that are anger in the fight mode and fear in the flight mode. And by process, you sit with them and breathe into them, and you allow them to be what they are. A lot of people in the new age say, oh, I have to transmute this. You don't have to transmute anything, and you're not doing this to eliminate it as a possibility. You're doing it to experience it. So in reality, we are here to experience all of this and to grow through our experiences. Even war is an experience created by Source to give us the opportunity to grow from that experience. So if you make peace with it too, you say, war is terrible, it's one of the worst things that can happen, but it serves us in ways that we cannot imagine to go through that. It allows people to be heroes. It allows people to heal, to move vibrationally from a low point to a point where they get to peace, inner peace, and then to keep going into joy. So there's so many ways of changing the way that we look at these experiences that can release our resistance to them and help us get to that growth point where we can then grow from them. But I cut myself off there in the processing part. The processing is just sit with it, find it. So for me, fear is always here. I feel it right here. I know right where it is and right where I need to focus in and breathe into in order to release it. And um, you'll have a point in your chakra system as well where you're more likely to feel fear and feel anger. And when they come up, you need to pinpoint that place in your body and breathe into it. Again, you're not trying to expel it right away. You're not trying to transmute it. You're just saying, hey, I I'm willing to feel you. I'm not going to fear this emotion, this experience anymore. I'm not going to drink myself or smoke myself away from it or eat myself out of it. I'm going to just sit with it and allow it to be what it is. And if you breathe through that feeling and you get to the other side of it, guess what? Now you're bigger than it. You're more powerful than it. It's no longer got control over you because you've demonstrated that you can deal with it and deal with it as someone who realizes that they are source, they are love, that this is just a temporary experience that they on some level wanted to have. And if you can do all those things and and recognize also what helps you in those moments, is it taking a nap, or is it taking a bath, or is it walking in nature, or just going and sitting outside on the grass, yoga, meditation, anything at all that you do that is not turning to a substance of some kind or food, um, that will help you to feel better, because we want to give ourselves the optimal conditions to deal with these things that come up, because they will come up whenever they want to, but we then have the choice in how we're going to respond to them, and we can do so in ways that make it easier for us to deal with them.
Beautiful. Thank you. Here's another question from Ken Hay, saying, how can I practice downloading information from the Earth grid?
Well, you get out into nature, and yeah, the Earth grid, that's funny because I often think of it as like, well, that's what we're contributing to. We're gonna stand outside or sit outside and receive through our crown, and then run that energy through us, like galactic energies and higher frequency energies that are coming in all the time, and we're acting as the conduits that are adding to those grids. But somebody over in China is doing that as well, and somebody in Sweden is doing it, and somebody in Canada is doing it, and we're all contributing. So yeah, you can receive from it too by getting your tailbone right on the earth, or your bare feet, or just lying flat and just saying, okay, I'm ready to receive what's coming from up there and what's coming from down here, and whatever I need for my journey right now that's most appropriate for me to receive, that's what I'm here to absorb. And you will.
That's very helpful. I have a question.
Okay.
So
I love your earrings, by the way.
So many people are experiencing health symptoms lately, right?
Yeah.
Challenging health symptoms that seem to be quite ramped up. And my perception is that this is related to solar flares and changes in the energy, and we're upgrading on energetic levels, but the body takes longer. I'm just wondering what you would say about that. What advice do you have for us about that?
One, I'm gonna go back to an Abraham analogy. They said, because of where you are right now, with vibrationally, we are like running high performance Lamborghini type engines. And so any little bit of dirt that gets into that engine has a much bigger effect than if it was on, I'll use a car that nobody owns, a Yugo. you know so it's because we're amping everything up, that any little bit of resistance, any time you say, ah, oh well, I'll have that meat lover's pizza, I know it's not good for me, I know it's going to sit like a brick in my stomach, but I really want the meat lover's pizza, you're going to feel it so much more, because your light body's trying to get activated, and your light body wants lettuce and apples, and like the human part of you is like, no, I still want that. And so what we are resistant to will show up so much more strongly now, and what we absorb in terms of energy and information and food and all of those things will it's just going to have a much bigger effect on us. And the same, I'll use another analogy, like if the car is moving really fast and it hits something in the road, that's going to be a much bigger problem than if you're going 10 miles an hour and you're like blump blump and you go over it. So that's what we're doing. Everything's moving faster. We gotta be more vigilant.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I'm looking for another good question to ask here. So T is asking, is the collective, and I'm thinking that T means the human collective here.
Right.
Larger galactic collective is choosing positive for us, but is the human collective choosing a positive timeline overall at this point?
Well, this is a great question. There's many different versions of the human collective. You're in one right now where you're asking this question, which means you're awake, you're aware of who you are, and you're ascending and all these things. So you're obviously part of a collective that's moving in the right direction. Now, here's something really interesting too. My living, I have a couple of living favorites, and one is Bashar. He's the channeled entity I like the most. And the other is Eckhart Tolle. I just love Eckhart Tolle. I think he's phenomenal. So Bashar says, you never change the world you're in. You change, and then you go to that reality that reflects to you a world that shows the change that you made in yourself. But that world has to be what that world is, and with all the problems it has and the version of the collective it has. And it's fine. It's fine just the way it is, because it's still giving source an opportunity to know itself in that unique way that it does through that world. But something that the Arcturians added to that recently was that's true. You're not changing that world that you jumped from, but there's an overall collective of all the collectives. And whenever you're adding something positive, it's like adding more hot water to the bath water that you're in. So the bath water you're in might be just like warm. It's just like room temperature. So now you're adding hot water. So the whole temperature of all the water is getting warmer because you're adding that piping hot water from the spigot. And that's what you're doing to the collective of collectives whenever you're choosing the positive. So you're still affecting the overall collective consciousness, even if you're not changing that one world that you were just on.
And the water analogy is very helpful.
Eureka. That's for geeks. Only geeks got that reference. I love Greek history, Greek mythology, all of it. I forget who said it, like Euripides or somebody.
I don't know.
It was like Isaac Newton. Isaac Newton with the apple falling is the more a well-known thing, but the Greek guy noticed the water rose in the bathtub when he got in it, and that led him to some math, some kind of math formula.
Well, here's a good question over on YouTube. Is there anything negative in the fifth dimension?
I wonder if this is who I think it is asking this question. um, somebody emailed me about this recently, and the truth is that we live in a dualistic universe, and we have to have hot and cold, left and right, up and down, because it's a polar. It's a universe that's bipolar. There are universes that have three poles instead of two. So try to imagine what that's like. Just like there are universes with, or not just universes, but I think in our universe, there are planets and systems where the genders are more than two. So that kind of helps explain what we're all going through collectively right now with gender identity stuff. Yeah, so I don't know that from where we're sitting in this dimension, that it would seem negative to us, that if it was in the fifth dimension, because the fifth dimension is up here and we're here. So everything up here is higher than where we are. But when you're here, then there's going to be things that maybe still feel a little negative, like being overwhelmed by choices or something, well, I only get to project my consciousness into 4 bodies now instead of 1. Like, there are limitations on the fifth dimension, just like we experience limitations right now. And there will be those of us in the fifth dimension who are like, I can't wait for the 6th dimension, like, when are we going to get there? And so in that sense, I think negativity still exists. Now, if you believe in the teachings of Ra from the Law of One, this is something that kind of blew my mind when I read it. They're saying there are entities that can be in these higher dimensional planes and still be service to self-oriented. They can still have a negative agenda. I don't know that that's true. It's not true in my experience, because I've only channeled positive entities and collectives from higher dimensional planes. And I don't believe everything I read, even if it's channeled, and I don't believe everything I hear, even if it's channeled. So I'm not choosing that version of reality where there are negatively oriented beings in higher and the other thing you have to keep in mind is it's a universal shift. So we don't really know what the fifth dimension we're shifting into is like, because it's changing too. Everything is changing. And so that's like saying all reptilians are evil, right? All Anunnaki are bad, right? Probably not. I've heard well, no, I could say Treb, who's channeled by my friend Rob Gothier, he's an reptilian ET, and he's friendly and loving, and I've also heard it channeled by Wendy Kennedy that there are many lovely Anunnaki, and I think somebody else said about a quarter of Anunnaki are of the light, and so and they're all becoming better too, because all of us are shifting and becoming better versions of ourselves. And that includes cabal members, and it includes all negatively oriented ETs. You have to know that we simply are on this upward spiral as a whole universe, which means everybody's getting some kind of awakening experience. I had mine, I had to go from where I was to where I am, and I couldn't make that happen. That was planned. All that stuff that happened that got me to awaken and meditate and channel it all, it just happened, like I just became a different and by my accounts, better person. Some people would say I've slid way down because I'm doing this type of work now. And I used to be Catholic, but I would say that it's all for the better, and everybody's going to have those experiences, not just a few lucky ones.
Yeah, it's interesting to make these distinctions between like good and bad too, right? Is everything?
Yeah. Well, Bashar says it's fundamentally negative, like physics wise and everything. If its purpose is to separate, if it's segregative in nature, it is fundamentally negative. And if it's integrative in nature, then it's fundamentally positive. And so those are not perceptual and relative in that sense. And I get what that means too. Like, it really makes sense to me that if your goal is to divide and people and make them weaker because they're divided, then yeah, you have a negative orientation.
Sense. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So are you okay to stay on for one more question? We're almost ready.
I'm okay. I've scheduled a half-hour break after this, so I have plenty of time.
Okay. Since the Anunnaki came up, I'll ask this question. Should be interesting.
Yeah.
Does the story of Enlil and Enki have any relevance to our present or future timelines?
I don't know what the story is, but I've heard of them. And look, it's a past, it's a version of someone's, like, even if you ask two different people, well, what happened back in 1974 at that bar in Atlanta, you get two different answers from those two people. So yeah, it's one person's account of what happened on a timeline that's a past. So my question to you would be, knowing that version of reality as it stands right now in your awareness, how do you grow from it? Like, how are you going to use it in bettering yourself and becoming a bigger positive force for love in the universe? Because that's what every single moment of every day in every life is about for us. It's about prompting us to choose love, or giving us the choice between the two. And the more times we choose love, obviously the better for us and everybody.
I want to share this because I love the last comment here that's in the Zoom chat. And I just want to say, Carol, I think you just jumped timelines from whatever one you were on into ours. Yes, Carol said, where do you learn of all these dimensions, etc.? It's all new. I just stumbled into this Zoom.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool. All right. So dimension. I used an analogy before with the bath water, and you add hot water and now all the water's warmer. Dimensions are like, if you think, let's say you're a person, oh man, how do I do this? Let's say you're a person who walks around anxious all the time. Well, that you're existing in like a lower vibration, and that's not a judgment. It's like a fact of everything is energy. This is the best way to describe it. Everything is energy. My body is energy. This bed I'm sitting on is energy. This lamp over here is energy. It's formed into different physical matter that seems solid to me and permanent. Like, it's not, the bed's not going to become a chair later tonight. So the vibration of the energy, even air is energy. There's no such thing as empty space. Everything is energy. So all energy is vibrating. It obviously the air is vibrating at a different frequency so that it doesn't seem solid to me, and I can move my arm through it like this, because it's got a different, it's vibrating faster. It's vibrating faster, so it's less dense and solid. And when something's vibrating slower, it's got a more solid feel and look to it and everything. So we have a range of those vibrations in our dimension that we exist in right now. And I am not a science person, but let's say it's 20,000 hertz to 120,000 hertz. And hertz are ways of measuring frequencies. And let's say that a person who's walking around depressed all the time, their vibration is more than just their physical body. Now we're talking about their mental and emotional state, keeps them in that lower vibration where all bad things keep happening. They get into an accident, they break their arm doing something else, people are mean to them, and they stay in that lower vibration. And then there's somebody who was born in this amazing place with these amazing parents and amazing people around them all the time, always loving them, encouraging them, telling them how much they can do and be, and they're usually vibrating in joy and they're way up here. Well, that's the range. This person who's in joy, they reach a point where they can just not go any higher with that love and joy that they feel all the time. And that's the border between this dimension and the next one up, which is a better feeling dimension, which the best you can possibly feel in this dimension is the worst you'll ever feel in the fifth dimension, because it's a whole different range of frequencies. And let's say it's 121,000 hertz to 240,000 hertz or something. And so that's what we're doing. We're gradually feeling better and better and adding more love and more joy so that we raise the overall vibration and we all rise up into this realm where there's way more possibilities than what we have for experiences here, because we signed up to have all the experiences that you can have while vibrating from here to here. Death and loss and hitting a home run and having great sex and like all the things you can do in this reality with this vibration. But then we go up here when we shift our consciousness, when we shift our consciousness, then everything shifts. The perception of reality, suddenly there's new colors and there's new feelings, and you can have two bodies instead of one, and your body's lighter, so you can be a fairy one day if you want to, and a dragon the next day. And like it sounds crazy, but I know it sounds crazy, but that's the kind of jump we're making in terms of like where we can go and what we can do.
I just had an idea. Maybe this is how we're going to bring the unicorns and the dragons back, is we get to become them.
Well, yeah, we literally are becoming fairies, because I think the fairies are like that fifth dimensional humanoid. They look more like us than we think. We think they look like little Tinkerbells with wings, but they're really humans that are full size, and they've got these light bodies so they can fly. So we think they have wings, but they don't need wings. And they're like the fifth dimensional versions of ourselves. And in that fairy kingdom are the unicorns, mermaids, all of them. They're all in the fairy realm that we're stepping into. And it's going to be so much more too than what we can imagine or we've experienced before, because like I said, it's a brand new fifth dimension.
I look forward to it.
Me too.
Thank you so much, Daniel, for all that you have shared here. And thank you to the Arcturian Council as well for their transmission that they brought through and that you brought through. So thank you.
Yep.
appreciate it. And you've inspired me, reminding me of the Seth teachings. I love the Seth teaching.
I know.
Read any of those books in a while. I'm going to go get one now and go read them.
Yeah. So great.
So yeah, thank you really for all of this. It was very powerful as always.
Good.
It's a pleasure to speak with you.
Same here.
Yeah. And have a wonderful rest of your day there in Australia.
Thanks. Have a great night.
All right.
Okay.
So everybody who's on live here, I just want to thank you all so much for attending this conference. This is our last interview. What a wonderful way to close out the conference. So thank you for those who've been on live, on Zoom, on YouTube. Thank you to those who have watched this as a recording. Sending you all so much love, many, many blessings. I'll be in touch with you all soon, of course. And definitely go and, claim all those free gifts you didn't get to yet. Watch the interviews you didn't get to watch yet. It's all still there for you. Hope you will enjoy all of it. So thank you again, Daniel. Have a wonderful day.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.